Apple just had their annual iPhone keynote where they announced all the new iPhones for the year. As an app developer, I thought it'd be interesting and maybe kind of fun to share the things that I thought were interesting about the new iPhone 15 Pro, the non-Pro, and some of the other stuff that came up in the keynote. If you're new here, I'm Sean. I'm an iOS developer. I make an app called Sofa, which helps you to be more intentional with your downtime. Okay, let's get into the iPhone stuff. All right, first thing, can we just talk about the video quality that Apple puts out? Like, these videos are insane. The little skits that they're doing are actually kind of funny and entertaining. And there was this one transition where there was I think it was like an Apple box or something in the background. They zoom into the Apple box and it transitions into the Marimba Valley, and it's subtly playing the old marimba ringtone from the original iPhone. It's just like that level of detail is just so good. So when I get new iPhones, I tend to get the Pro phones because I want to get the best cameras because I use them all the time. So whenever I see new stuff about the non-Pro phones, I don't personally get very excited about it. But the one thing that stood out was the non-Pro phones are now going to get the dynamic island. This was exclusive on the Pro phones last year, the 14 Pro. And I think the dynamic island is a really, really nice addition to the iPhone. I've been using it personally with the 14 Pro, I guess, for about a year now. I definitely wouldn't want to go back to a phone without it. It's these little things. There's nothing like major about it that is really incredible, but there's little things like setting a timer, or if I'm playing a podcast and I can see it and tap into it very quickly. It's kind of a nice quality of life update to the iPhone OS. The new titanium material looks pretty sick, but this happens every year. You know, the non-Pro phones have all these fun colors where you can get yellow, you can get green, you can get a nice blue, and then the Pro phones have black or space gray or silver or white, or they have this like midnight or darker blue, but I got that one year and it ended up looking like black most of the time. I do just wish there was fun colors on the Pro phones. I know other people have said this, but it's something I wish for too. But I guess it doesn't really matter because I end up putting a case on the phone anyway, but still, I would like fun colors. So now the mute or silent switch is changing to a general purpose action button. This had been rumored for a little while, and I was actually kind of nervous about it because I personally love that there is a physical switch to mute the phone and silence the phone. I usually have my phone silent 99% of the time. The thought of having to like go into some part of the UI to change it instead of just having like a physical switch, I was not excited about that. This actually seems like a good evolution of the mute silent switch. If you hold down, it will still silence the phone or unsilence the phone, so that is good. You still have that very, very quick functionality to do it. But now with this being an action button, there's an extra layer of functionality with this thing. You can have it turn on the flashlight, you can have it open the camera, which is probably the thing I would do. But you can also have it run shortcuts. As an app developer, I think, okay, what type of shortcut would someone want to run for my app? And the first thing I think of is being able to quickly add something to Sofa. So with Sofa, you can add books, movies, video games, all that kind of stuff in one place and then revisit those things later. If you could open that search screen right away, so then you could, with a press of a button, run this shortcut, open Sofa, and then you have the search screen right there. That would be pretty nice. I've been planning to improve shortcut support inside of Sofa anyway, but having this type of feature like physically on a new iPhone gives me even more incentive to kind of hustle and do that. So like many people, I use my iPhone camera all the time. Some of the new camera features on the 15 Pro are pretty exciting. The main lens on the iPhones have ranged from a focal length of 28 millimeters to 26 to 24. And with the new iPhone 15 Pro, you can actually choose the default focal length that you would want for the main lens. So you can choose either 24, 28, or 35. With 35 millimeters being my favorite focal length, this is a very exciting update because now my phone can use my favorite focal length by default whenever I open the camera. But then having the flexibility to jump to a 28 or a 24, and you're really not losing much resolution, is very, very exciting. Now, the next really cool thing is the telephoto lens, and specifically the 5x optical 120 millimeter focal length. This looks so awesome. And since it's an optical zoom and not a digital zoom, you shouldn't lose resolution here. Honestly, this is the one feature that would trigger me to be like, oh, I gotta get a new iPhone now. And then the last thing was being able to shoot spatial videos for Vision Pro. And obviously they said this feature is not going to come until later because the Vision Pro isn't coming until next year anyway. And I kind of thought they would do this at some point. I didn't know if it was going to be this year or next year, but the fact that the Vision Pro can obviously record spatial video, but then play it back, it was like, oh, well, the iPhone will probably at some point be able to record spatial video. And we get it this year, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's talk about the thing that people are probably going to lose their minds about in an unnecessary way, but let's talk about the new USB-C charging port for the iPhones. Now, people are going to be pissed about this, but honestly, it's a good change. USB-C has really become the common port and charger for most modern pieces of technology, ranging from phones, computers, headphones, cameras, any other thing you can think of. USB-C is everywhere. And every other Apple device that you buy today, from a MacBook to an iPad, will use USB-C. And now it's for the iPhone too. So the benefit of this is you can literally have one cable that you can use on all of your devices to charge stuff. So you don't have to bring multiple cables if you don't want to when you're traveling or just day to day. You can literally have one cable that does it all. And there's been a weird thing over the past couple years where there's like this meme where people say, oh, Apple's always changing the charger. They're not. They're just not. Do you know this is only the second time that the iPhone charger has actually changed? And the last time it changed was for the iPhone 5 back in 2012. And that's when it went from a 30-pin connector to a Lightning connector. That was 11 years ago. So 11 years later, we're now moving from Lightning to USB-C. People are going to lose their minds. They're going to be pissed. But this really isn't a big deal. And this is actually a good thing. If you're someone who is getting upset about this, just take a deep breath, go for a walk, and you'll be fine. There was a nice little bonus at the end that I wasn't expecting. So they're now going to have higher tiers of iCloud storage. So you'll be able to get 6 terabytes of data or 12 terabytes of data. Now, currently, me and my wife are on a family plan for iCloud, and we have 2 terabytes that we share. I actually checked the other day, we're around like 1.6 terabytes. That's only going to increase with the amount of pictures we take and files that we have and different things. This is nice. I'll be able to upgrade if necessary, and I was actually getting a little nervous, like, oh, what do I do if I hit that 2 terabytes? Can I buy more? Or do I have to start taking stuff off and use a different cloud service, that kind of thing? So this is a nice little bonus. So now the question is, am I going to be getting one? Initially, as they were talking about the non-Pro iPhone, and then even at the beginning of the iPhone Pro, I was like, oh, I'm good. Like, I don't need one. I have an iPhone 14 Pro. Then they started talking about the cameras on the 15 Pro and how you can change from 24 to 28 to 35 millimeters, and then the 120 millimeter telephoto. It's like, oh my goodness. This is what Apple is very good at. They're very good at you looking at your year-old thing and going like, oh, this thing sucks now. But anyway, I'm going to hold out. I'm not getting one. I don't need one. I have a perfectly good iPhone 14 Pro, and I think I'll be fine, he says. So those are my thoughts on the new iPhone 15 and 15 Pro and some of the other things that were announced during the keynote. Not a huge year for the iPhone, but definitely a nice incremental bump, and there's a lot of I would say camera-wise, there's huge improvements. If you're someone who has maybe a couple-year-old device, this will be a nice update. But if you're like me and you have a 14 or maybe even a 13, you probably don't need a new phone, and you're probably fine. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.